Panagdait sa tanan and welcome back to our physical education and health class. I am your teacher, Sir Justin Romer S. Monteron. You can call me Sir Justin or Sir Romer. Before we proceed to our next topic, let us talk about or let's have a recap on our previous discussion. Last meeting we talked about the difference between physical activity and exercise. If you can still remember, physical activity refers to any body movement that we do, while exercise it is actually a category of physical activity. Take note, class, that exercise is regularly done. It is planned and structured, and it does not you always do this regularly on a time schedule. The next thing that we talk about is all about the four domains of physical activity. Let us remember that these four domains also refers to the different reasons why we perform physical activity. The first one is occupational. Occupational refers to the movements that we do in relation to our role in the society. For example, as a teacher, the movements that I usually do is check your test papers, create lessons, and then climbing the stairs. No, because in our school we have lots of stairs. Another example, as a student, kamo, since you are still students, your occupational domain of physical activity refers to your task as a student. Kung sa may mga example ani, it could be taking down notes, karon sa new normal, it could also mean, it could also refer to your typing your activity answers on your activities. The next one is domestic. Domestic, when we say domestic, it refers to our home. Therefore, domestic refers to any movement that we do at home. The transportation domain of physical activity refers to the movements that we do in connection to our travel by the means of our transportation. For example, those who are taking the bus, what are the physical activities are they doing in relation to taking the bus? It could also mean climbing the stairs because in buses, di ba, namatay stairs, and anything that they do in the bus can refer to transportation. And the last one is the leisure. Leisure refers to our vacant time. It refers to the movements that we do on our free time. It can be playing sports, reading articles, stories, so on and so forth. And actually, the exercise actually belongs to the leisure time. And then we proceeded to the three main types of activities. The first one is aerobic activities. Take note, aerobic from the word air, sa Bisaya pa hangin. Therefore, kaning aerobic activities, these are activities nga hangakon ta, such as heavy sports like basketball. It can also mean sa swimming, so on and so forth. In aerobic activities, additional information lang, these are activities that can improve our cardiovascular endurance, our heart and lungs. The second one is the muscle strengthening activities. From the word itself, no, muscle strengthening, this refers to any activity that can strengthen or empower our muscles, such as boxing or weightlifting. The last one is the bone strengthening activities. From the word itself, Jehapon, these are activities that can strengthen our bones. Um, Actually, class, muscle strengthening and bone strengthening have similar activities nga naman because the muscle is attached to the bone. Meaning to say, if you want to develop your muscle, automatic maapil nag-develop si bone. But there are times no that we must be specific on which part of our body we are intended to develop. So even though partner si muscle o si bone, for example, people that go to the gym, usually ilahang gina-improve is their muscle strengthening. It is because they intended to improve their body figure. But they do not know nga naapil na pod og improve ilahang bone. But to be more precise in that example, ilahang goal ato is to strengthen their muscle. And that's the summary of our previous discussion. Now let's move on to our new lesson. In this lesson, we will be talking about the energy systems. We also have here our objectives which are intended for us to achieve during or at the end of this discussion. The first one is to differentiate the types of energy system, and the second one is to recognize the importance of energy system in our body. Let's talk first about the forms of energy. As a sort of review, try to answer this question. What do you mean by energy? So may pasabutan ng energy. We often use this term energy, but I'm not sure if we tried to give words or meaning to this word. Energy. Unsa may meaning ana? So actually, energy refers to our ability to move. Without energy, we cannot actually move. Energy is somewhat the fuel of our body. Later, we will discuss more about that. This time, we will be talking about the forms of energy, namely carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. These forms of energy are actually the reasons or dili gikan ang atoang mga energy sa carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. But the question is, aha man nato ni makuha ning tulo? We can get these carbohydrates, fats, and proteins through food consumption. If we eat food that has carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, they will later be um, transformed into energy. We also have this term adenosine triphosphate or ATP. So let us not be confused by this term because this is just the scientific term for energy. And okay, here's the meaning of adenosine triphosphate or energy. Energy rin siya ha, scientific term lang siya. So it is the major fuel source of the body, meaning to say our body is like a vehicle manggod. If a vehicle doesn't have a fuel or gas, it cannot function well. Same ra sa human. If we do not have this energy or adenosine triphosphate, we won't be able to move actually. So aside from the fuel of our body, adenosine triphosphate or energy also serve a major role in repairing our muscle tissues. For example, kanang masamad ta, di ba? Kung masamad ta is mo heal ra na or mo recover diretso ato ang body part nga nasamad. So it is because of the adenosine triphosphate. So before ta mo proceed to the next slides, a short review. Energy refers to our ability to move. Its scientific term is adenosine triphosphate. It is also the major fuel source of the body, and aside from that, it also helps repair muscle tissues. Now, we can get energy from food consumption. Eating food that has carbohydrates, fats, and proteins would later transform and give us energy. Okay, this time we will be talking about the three energy system, namely the phosphagen system, anaerobic glycolysis, and aerobic system. So for us not to be confused, so we already know that energy is our ability to move or is the major fuel source of our body. Since it is a fuel, it can be categorized into three, namely these three energy system. Now, it is divided into three because the three of them has different time duration, which we will be discussing one by one. The first one, phosphagen system, it is called the quick system. It is because it will only last from 10 to 12 seconds or less than 13 seconds. Guided that it is a powerful movement and it also does not require oxygen. Since dili siya mag-require og oxygen, dili rata do not expect nga hangakon ta ani nga system kaning phosphagen system. Okay, the best example for phosphagen system are those activities nga kadyut ra kaayo such as 100-meter dash or in real life situation, if makuratan ta, we can actually apply this phosphagen system. Somewhat related ni siya sa adrenaline rush nga kadyut ra kaayo na magamit, no? For example, is kanang hapit ta maligsan. If nakatry na mo nga hapit mo maligsan, ato ang reaction gidana is pinakalit nga atras with greater force kayo ato ang atras because laliman biya ka nga maligsan. So that is what you call phosphagen system. The next one is the anaerobic system. Kung si phosphagen system is the quick system, si anaerobic is the medium system, meaning to say tunga-tunga siya. Dili siya paspas, dili pud siya hinay, which will last for 2 minutes or not or not greater than 3 minutes. Mao na si anaerobic system. It also does not require oxygen. Unsa may mga example ani niya? For anaerobic system, the best examples ani is kanang mag-exercise ta. For example, performing push-ups, jumping jacks. Okay, let's stick with jumping jacks. For example, when we perform jumping jacks, 'di ba mag-count raman tag 36, no? Mag 36 repetitions raman nato na siya, and then mag-count pa gyud ta. So that is the example of anaerobic system, kanang mga repetitive nga activity such as mga exercise. Again, push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, and then so on and so forth. Any kiting nga dili mo lapas og 3 minutes, mao na ang anaerobic system. The last one is the aerobic system. We already discussed ning aerobic, no, kaning term nga aerobic, which refers to air or hangin or our cardiovascular endurance. So it is called the lung system, which lasts for 90 to 120 minutes. But actually, aerobic system is actually an infinite amount of energy nga naman. It depends on the capacity of the human body because individual has different capacities manggod. So depende na siya sa ato ang body. It produces a lot of ATP or energy because it can be used for a long period of time and it uses oxygen. Of course, kung kabantay mo from the among the three si aerobic system ra ang gagamit og oxygen. Kaning oxygen it refers to kung sa Bisaya pa kana bitong hangakon ta, um, importante man gud nga hangakon ta because it is our body's normal way of adjusting. So if hangakon ta, that is good because our body is trying to adjust or cope up with the heavy activity that we are performing. And because of that, it tends to try to adapt so that we can maintain or last for a longer period of time. Okay, to sum it up, here are the three energy system: phosphagen system, anaerobic glycolysis, and aerobic system. So for us not to be confused, it is already arranged in order from the quick system, medium system, and the long system. Additional information pod for aerobic system, example activities ani are the heavy sports such as team sports like basketball and volleyball. We can also include swimming here or any forms of activities that requires us to move more than an hour. So that would be all for lesson 2. I hope that you learned a lot today. For questions, for any clarifications that you want to ask me, you can always contact me during weekdays rather, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Contact me at my Facebook account that I provided in your Google Classroom. Thank you guys for listening and see you next meeting.